The role is a bit bifurcated. There's two elements of our business here that I've been asked to come and run, and one element is the preservation, maintenance, and operation of the France-Merrick Performing Arts Center, which is the Hippodrome Theater and the M&T Bank Pavilion, and all that requires. It's 5 years old, and it's a business and an asset of itself. The other side of the job is to promote the Broadway series and present the Broadway series in Baltimore and Washington, D.C., and endeavor for both of those roles to move them forward and make it more successful, profitable, and interesting to be a subscriber and more interesting to come and see shows. Yes, absolutely. That's the secret sauce, right? If you choose the wrong shows, or perhaps if the shows that you like aren't available or are too expensive to come to the market, you suffer and the market suffers for it. And I think what we want to do is turn it around and build subscription and build attendance at the theater, and that's the job. That's the role I'm in. So it's all about the programming, I would say. That's an interesting question. I think that you have to be a bit more of a multitasker and a little bit more nimble when it comes to leading a group of people. Our permanent staff is 17 to 20 people. Our part-time staff is up to 400 people per year, where you are balancing risk, a lot of risk, to bring shows to the stage and sell subscriptions and either make money or lose money, and then balancing your ability to manage and program a historic theater that maybe isn't as efficient as a new theater and has huge obligations for capital expenses. So I think they're looking for someone who knew a little bit about a few things, and then someone who's passionate about the business. And as I told you a minute ago, some days are diamonds and some days just aren't. But in general, this is what I love to do. And I love a challenge, and I like to rally people around me to figure something out and work a little harder than someone else. May not be the smartest guy around, but I'll work twice as hard to make up the difference. And so far, the staff has responded to that. The community has responded to that. And I think in our business, because we expect so much from our employees, this is not a 9-to-5 job. This is something you're passionate about. It's an entertainment job. And you know how those jobs are. You're in media. It's 24/7, and it's part of you. It's hard to leave it at the office. And so you have to be careful not to completely run your staff into the ground. And you have to teach them and you have to empower them. But at the same time, this is a tricky business we're in. As I mentioned to you before, there's a short line of people lining up for this line to get in this business. And in Baltimore itself has had some, I would say, some specific issues related to growth of our business here and the theater. It's been open for 5 years, and I had a knowledge of the development of the theater before, which I think was helpful. And I think I'd have, at the end of the day, what's helped me again and again is I've been transparent, extremely honest with everyone on our staff and the people that we meet, to the point of embarrassment probably, and that helps. I think it helps a lot, and I think that's probably why. When 9/11 happened, I was in New York City, and I was working for the company at the time. It was called Clear Channel Entertainment, and we had theaters we had 17 theaters in about 9 markets. 3 of those markets were affected by 9/11. More importantly, our theater on 42nd Street. At the time, it was the Hilton Theater. I would say that was my biggest test. Probably I'm not alone.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever been prouder of the people that have been around me. But to be asked questions that you probably never in your life thought you'd be asked. When the towers were hit, a staff turning to you and saying, "Jeff, are we going to get bombed next? We're going to hit next," because Times Square at the moment was the next. No one knew anything at the time, but everyone thought, and word got out that Times Square could be hit next. And I had senior members of my staff come to me and say, "Jeff, is it safer for us to be in the basement or on the street?" Questions that, look, in all honesty, I never thought I'd be asked this question, and this went on for days. Port Authority bomb scare. People. Well, the whole story. I don't need to tell you what happened in 9/11, but it was it was that level of importance. Other decisions that we make on a day-to-day basis, if you screw up, all's forgiven. If not a day or a month or a week, you're gonna manage around it. This was not one of those times, and you really had the sense that if you made the wrong decision, that people's lives could be affected. And then after that, the decisions got slightly easier. But is it better to open on Broadway and bring people back to the Times Square? Is it better for the economy? The mayor at the time, Giuliani, wanted us to open back up. And how do you deal with the producers? How do you deal with the audience? These questions in this time were probably one of my greatest tests. There is a level of education that we have to maintain and give to some younger members of staff and in the community that this isn't the way it always was. And you can't make decisions knowing that the economy will pick up and make up for your mistakes. You can't overlook any opportunity for a cost reduction, or dare I say synergy, the completely worn out word of the year or decade. But in all seriousness, I think you can't take anything for granted anymore. And we can't act as boldly as we once did, or perhaps irresponsibly as some companies did. We have to be prudent, and we have to make decisions that we made 15 years ago as a normal course of business. You wouldn't have taken large risk. You wouldn't have hired extra staff. You would have said, wait a second, we're in a high-risk, volatile business in a poor economy. And so I've adjusted my thinking that way and encouraged our entire staff and people that work for me to not leave any stone uncovered related to efficiencies or how we can get around it without taking the easy way out. And that's difficult, but it's a challenge. And if you phrase it as a challenge, people will rise to that challenge. If you phrase it as an edict, people will react negatively to it. The other thing that I've had to do is have to be more patient. And that's something that, as much as I wanted to learn this lesson 10 years ago, it's come with time. And I'm not a patient person, period. And when I decide that we should do something, I'm ready to go out the door right then and go, let's get it done. Let's go cut that deal. Let's do that show. And I've had to learn to be more patient, to move a little bit more slowly in our decision-making process, and not do it alone. We have a talented group of people here who work extremely hard. A huge part of their life is theater and this job. And I have to remember that, I need to bring them along with me in making these decisions. Not by committee, by the way, because this is not a company that makes decisions by committee. But it's about teaching them how to make good decisions and be prudent. Baltimore and this theater is more than Broadway, and it should be. This is one of the things that I find is conspicuously absent from the theater and in Baltimore, is that there is a lively touring gospel business out there. There is a lively comedic business out there. There's a lively music business out there, and it is either not coming to Baltimore or not coming here. We have talented people in the region and in Baltimore that produce and present these shows. And in my experience in Philadelphia, especially in D.C. and in New Orleans, part of our business was hosting a very rich and strong, dedicated audience for touring gospel and for other shows. And frankly, what I need to focus on and I need to reach out to is say, well, guys, let's remember, once again, let's dust off the Baltimore negativity and remember what we have here. We have this beautiful asset sitting in the middle of downtown Baltimore. And my doors are open. And I have a stage. I have seats. I have PR. I have marketing. I have ticketing. Let's do some shows. Broadway I've got under control. I mean, really. I'll continue to make decisions that kind of better our Broadway series, including next year. But let's talk about what else is going on, and what's not going on. And so I think the touring presenters and producers haven't found the Hippodrome as a stop, and they should, that represent minority community productions, which I got to tell you, that my rule for a theater, and one of the reasons why our company, whatever version of the company you want to call it, why we open theaters and restore theaters and spend a decade and tens of millions of dollars of our own money to open the theaters, isn't to do Broadway. We love Broadway, and Broadway's great, but it's to find a way to open these houses and make the programming a reflection of the community that they're in.